Hey, what's up, everybody? Garrett Grumlin here with Catholic Connector, and I wanted to talk about the importance of kind of reaching out and trying new things if you want to make friends in the Catholic faith. And I want to make it really, really easy for people to make friends in the Catholic Church. However, it is eventually going to become incumbent on the individuals to at least seek out different groups and try new things. And maybe if something's like, I don't really know if that's my thing, give it a go. And I have a perfect example of this because I am hosting a book or a men's book club tonight. I don't really like to read. However, this guy from church about a year ago invited me to a men's book club. And I went to one meeting, and then I didn't go to another one for like 6 to 8 months. And then I went to another one, and now I'm hosting one. And it meets once a month. And the first one I ever went to, I forget what the book was, but then the last one that I went to, it was a C.S. Lewis book, The Great Divorce. And I had read Mere Christianity. And so I was like, oh, that actually really piques my interest. Quite a few months, sometimes I was busy. Other times I was like, I just don't really feel like reading that. But the point of this is, one, listen to this really cool piece of information that I got from the current book of the month, and how if you open yourself up to ideas, opportunities, God will definitely work. So I didn't know this. However, the book Dracula is a very Christian book. I don't know if you knew that. It's a very Christian book that has strong symbols and ideas grounded in the idea of good versus evil, the spiritual battle between Jesus and Satan. And Dracula is supposed to represent, he does represent Satan in the book Dracula. And I didn't actually read the book. Normally we read books, but this month we tried listening to a podcast that was a review of Dracula. And I actually really liked this because if I had just read Dracula, I'd kind of get the bare bone basics. But since I'm not a good reader, listening to like kind of a literary teacher break down the deep symbolism and idea and structure of how Dracula is set up was really, really interesting. And the podcast is called the Literary Life Podcast, and she's a Catholic person, Catholic woman, and I'm not sure if she has it on the same people every time, but they talked about like how the story of vampires, it's really been bastardized in modern times. Because if you take kind of the classic movies of like good versus evil, and I know Harry Potter isn't classic, but everybody really knows it, but like the Lord of the Rings, there is no sympathy for Sauron, right? There's never any sympathy in the Lord of the Rings trilogy for Sauron. Why? Because he's evil incarnate, right? He is Satan in that world. He represents Satan. And you don't feel bad for Satan because he is pure evil. He knows what he's doing and he does it anyway. But nowadays, and it's the same thing with Voldemort, right? I mentioned Harry Potter. Same thing with Voldemort. You never, in Harry Potter, you never feel bad for Voldemort. In The Lord of the Rings, you feel bad for Gollum because he gets torn down by the evil of Sauron. Sauron has this ring, and Gollum just gets sucked into this, and it totally destroys him. It disfigures him in like every way. And a different example is like Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter, right? He becomes this weak, frail person because he gets sucked into this, he wants to be like powerful and rich, and then he gets sucked into this, and by the end of the series, he's like this shell of a human being, and he's running away with his family at the end as Voldemort like dies. He like runs away. But you never feel bad for Voldemort. And nowadays, the story of like Dracula, of vampires, Twilight, right? There's also with the movie Wicked, and I have a point here, right? But like the movie Wicked, it's giving his backstory to why the evil witch of the West is so evil, right? She had this sympathetic backstory, but it kind of bastardizes the whole point of villain, of like the villain in the story. Right? Villains, especially, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is nowadays it's like, well, why do you feel that way? Maybe you're justified in feeling that way. It's like, no, sometimes it's just good and evil. And that's the spiritual battle. And it's on full display in this book, Dracula. And I actually haven't read it yet, but this is everything that I learned about in this breakdown from the Literary Life podcast. And it was just really cool to learn that, because I think I would connect a lot more with reading if I read a book like Dracula, maybe listened to something like this, or found a review on it, and then started kind of like looking into like, okay, where are like these real like themes of like good versus evil, Christ and Satan, like that. Just, it's so much more of a book, or more than a book at that point. And so here's my point. That, I feel like that's pretty cool information, right? Like, I really liked reading that. I really liked learning about that. But I never would have done it if I had just said, nah, I don't really do men's book clubs, you know? But I was so desperate to like just make any friends that I was just like saying yes to everything. And now I formed a really good friendship with this guy, Mark, and it's a really cool, and frankly, I'm not like the brightest person. I'm good with people. That's my skill. I'm decent at talking. You know, some people are not good at public speaking. I love public speaking. I see it as like a personal challenge. Like, I have my skills. Being really smart, reading books, like deep philosophical thinking, that's not my strength, but it's cool to sit there with people smarter than myself and listen to them delve into ideas. And so if you're looking to form a group, if you're looking to make friends in the Catholic Church, push yourself a little bit. You know, trust that God is going to take care of you. And maybe you try a group and then you're like, it's not really your thing. But always keep an open mind. Because if I had said, oh, you know, I tried that book club once, but I didn't really like it, then I wouldn't have just gone the last time to, you know, what was it? The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. I went to the last month's book club about the Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. I'm hosting this month on Dracula, and I'm like really excited. So open yourself up to new ideas. And here's the last point. I never would have gone to this book club if this guy, Mark, had not invited me personally. I kind of felt an obligation to give it a try, because by the time he had invited me, I knew him already. And I felt like this guy's going out of his way to invite me to this group. The least I can do is, since he's like extending this opportunity to me, the least I can do is not kind of slap in his face and be like, nah, I'm just not going to show up to that. So I kind of felt like a little bit of a responsibility to like at least give it a shot. And now I'm kind of like, I'm totally looking forward to tonight. And my English teacher from 7th grade would be like, that would have been nice. I wish you could have brought some of that fire into my class. But anyway, be open to ideas. Push yourself a little bit. Never close a door, you know? Just because maybe it's not good for you right now doesn't mean it's not going to be good for you in a year. And lastly, if you are part of a group, invite other people in personally, right? Go up to someone and be like, hey, I really think that you'd like this. You should give it a shot. And like push them a little bit. Like, you know, like pitch them. Be like, hey, this is like a really good group. And try new things. Because if you're not trying new things, then like, what's the point anyway? You know what I mean? It's like, life's all about trying new things, pushing yourself, learning, growing. I hope this was insightful. I hope this was helpful. I wrote down some notes, so hopefully I kind of was a little bit better about keeping my mind on track this video. So let me know what you think. If you've gotten to this point in the video, I should say this probably earlier, but please like and subscribe. I really want to grow this channel. I want to make it easier for people to connect in the Catholic Church and find true friendship. I'm very passionate about that. And I was very lonely for a very long time. And God really blessed me with a lot of friends in the church. And I want other people to feel that way. I don't want other people to feel lonely like I felt. And that's what this whole channel is about. So if you like that mission, you want to support that mission, please help me by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video if you are so inclined. God bless you. Have a great day. Bye.